Hello, my name is Kevin from the team 9594S, and I am just going to provide a brief walkthrough of our code from the 2020 to 2021 season VEX changeup. So let's just start in our main file here. So we have all of our files separated, all the code divided and organized so that we can basically edit it a lot easier. So starting in the main file, on the top here we can see we have all of our variables that we use. Then we have our autonomous functions. I'll go into how we generate the autonomous movements actually later. So we're just going to leave that for now. Then you see we come to some of the functions that we actually use. So this open and close intake function, basically our intakes are geared so that we can actually either open or close it into two separate positions. So this is just a function to automate that process. Then we get to the user control function. So we actually see that we have two separate systems running in the user control function and the autonomous function actually. So one system allows the robot to move relative to itself. So forward on the joystick will always move the robot forward relative to itself. However, the other function will move the robot forward always relative to the field. So if you move the joystick up, the robot will always move in one direction regardless of where the robot itself is actually facing. So this has numerous applications and they all have their own unique advantages and disadvantages, which I will not get into here. So here you can see all the code for all of those different systems, and then you have the main code bring everything together. Then we have our Auton file. So this is just some of the functions that we use in autonomous. So obviously you have intake function, we have the scoring function, and then we have the descoring function. And this basically just detects the color of the ball, and if it is the wrong color, it will kick it out, and if it is the right one, it will rescore it, and all that sort of stuff. And this is an unfold function that unfolds the robot from its resting position to the actual position we're going to use. And then this is the drive function, which is various functions pertaining to movement. So first you have the align drive function. So this function will basically use a vision sensor that we have and align the robot to the nearest ball. So as you can see, we have either red ball or blue balls. So this is actually very useful in both autonomous and on the field because it can correct for errors, and it can actually save a lot of time because we don't need to manually fiddle with it. We can just press a button and it will automatically align, and we can just go ahead and pick up the ball. So then we have a check function which checks during the autonomous if it has reached the target according to the odometry system, or if it has rammed up against the wall and the current draw is way too high. So then we have the drive functions, very similar to our user control functions. We have two separate drive functions. So one is always relative to the robot, this one, and will always move forward and backwards relative to the robot, and another one down here that is relative to the field. So forward will always be in the same direction regardless of where the robot is facing. And we have these two systems, and these two are actually made possible because we have a mechanical wheel drive base, so we can move it in any direction we so please. Then we have the turn function and a reset heading function, which just resets the heading and so on. Then we have a GUI function. So this is controlling the interface on the brain, and it produces a lot of useful statistics. So like the motor temperatures, the motor positions, and everything like that. It makes debugging while on the run a lot easier, and it just looks cool, I guess. So yeah, a lot of stuff there. Then we have the odometry function. So this just basically tells us where the robot is at all times and is extremely useful, especially in autonomous, where precise location and stuff like that is incredibly important. So that's the code there, and that's basically all everything in for our VEX code portion of this. And if you would like to see more detailed explanations for any of the functions or any of the stuff like such as odometry or the GUI, then please let us know. But for now, we're going to move on to Python. So this is a function that we developed relatively early on in the year. So this is a program that basically allows us to simulate a field and a very poorly rendered robot, and allows it to basically do all the calculations and the math for us about where the robot needs to move. So as you saw here, I just clicked and dragged this very poorly rendered robot, and it just spit out a function. So basically what it's doing here is it's taking what we've done, this line, and transformed it into code that the robot can actually use to replicate this exact motion. So this little red square in the front is our intakes. So as you can see, I can move it around, and it will basically calculate all the movements necessary to get our robot to that exact position. So as you can see, I can rotate it, I can move it, and you can see here it's generated all the code we need to just move the robot from here to here in this exact orientation following this exact path. So this code has actually proven invaluable, especially in generating new Autons. So towards the end of the year, we would generate a part and we would test it and test it again, and if it doesn't work, we can just regenerate a new one that we hope will work better. So this is basically streamlines the entire process and makes it incredibly easy. So once the code has been generated, we could just copy it, go over to VEX code, and then paste it into the autonomous section, and bing bam boom, it's done. So yeah, that's basically it. If you want to go through a more in-depth explanation of this as well, please just let us know. Yeah, that's about it. Bye.